So, John Gruden should never have stepped down as head coach. Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Conversationology Reasons. Always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. So we know that John Gruden has been all over in the media that John Gruden stepped down as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And the reason why he stepped down is because of emails that from 10 years ago that's basically resurfaced. Of course, you know what the left statute of limitation doesn't matter. You know, they were going after Trump for something that he supposedly did 40 years ago. But anyway, what was in these emails? Well, allegedly he posted some quote unquote homophobic and racist tweets against Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner of the NBA, and DeMaurice Smith, who was, I think he was like player personnel or something, who represented the players union against the league. Well, he made these derogatory statements against them. Now, what did he say against John Gruden? What did he say against Roger Goodell? Well, he used quote unquote homophobic text. But the problem is what was homophobic about it? In order for you to say that John Gruden said something homophobic, you have to prove that he posts some text that he has a fear of homosexuals, because that's what a phobia is. Okay, speaking against something or making a derogatory statement about something is not a phobia. So we need to stop with that nonsense. He's not homophobic. He may have said some derogatory statement or used a derogatory homosexual, calling someone a fag or something like that. But calling someone a fag is not homophobia. Again, that does not equate to having a fear of fags, a fear of homosexuals. So, like I said, we got to stop with this nonsense. The whole purpose of homophobia, and homophobia, and crying about it is basically to paint a picture that a person is bad, to make it the situation way worse than it is, because we can come up with all type of phobia. There's plenty of Christophobia going on in the world, but nobody calls out the Christophobia. Anyway, there was nothing in his tweets or his his emails from 10 years ago that implies that he had a fear of homosexuals. And somehow, you know, there's certain groups in this world, in this country, that gets precedence over other. You can talk about other groups, this group over here, that group, but that group you talk about, and it spells you in. Now, as far as the racist emails against the DeMaurice Smith, he basically equated his lips, talked about his lips, said his lips looked like tires or something. Is that racism? Well, in the minds of the left, in the minds of the race hustlers, yes, because anytime a white person criticizes a black person, in their minds that's racism. Now, a black person can criticize a white person all day, perfectly fine, no problem, but if a white person does something like that, it's racism, and they need to be fired, they need to be destroyed. Well, is it racism for a white man to refer to some random black man's lips as being the size of tires? Well, you have to show the evidence. Is it racism about the real or the revised meaning? Well, let's look at hold this up against the real meaning of racism, a belief of inherent superiority based upon race, or believing that you're inherently superior because of your race. Is there anything in this text that implies that he believes he's superior to, or white people are superior to black people, or white people have superior lips to black people? No, he was talking about one black person, and he didn't even bring up black. He just talked about one person. So how is that racism based upon the real definition of racism? Well, it's not. Okay. Well, let's take the revised definition of racism: the power and the privilege to be able to affect someone, the privilege and the power to be able to affect someone's life. Okay. Would you say that John Gruden is privileged? Well, I would say he's very privileged. I mean, being the head coach in the NFL, and that was his second that was his second chance, a second time being the head coach of the Raiders. He also was a coach of the head coach of the Buccaneers, and they won the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl for the Buccaneers back in 2002. So I would say he's definitely privileged. He has a privileged life, a life more privileged than the majority of people in the world. But does he actually have any power to affect Demarius Smith's life? No. And his comments had no real effect on Demarius Smith, nor did it have any real effect on any black person, any physical effect. It's all emotional nonsense. So then, based upon the revised definition of racism, it wasn't even racism. But yet they're calling it racism. Again, only because a white person had the audacity to make a derogatory statement against a black person. Not all black people, but a one black person, and it wasn't even based upon, he didn't make the situation based upon race, because by that logic, we can make derogatory statements of anybody. I mean, any physical feature of any person. But it would only be considered racist if a white person does it to somebody who's of another race. Go figure. So anyway, John Gruden should not have stepped down, and shouldn't have never been the threat of fire. And why? Well, because there's a lot of other people who can also be fired, or who also should be stepped down for racist comment. Let's look at Jalen Rose now. Jalen Rose, as we all know, he made his racist rant about the men's basketball team, the USA men's basketball team, criticizing why Kevin Love was on the team, and saying that he was only on the team because he was white, completely racist, and that America didn't want to send, white folks in America did not want to send an all black team. That's completely racist. Even though they've done it before. Now some people try to defend Jalen Rose, say that he was only questioning with Kevin Love being on the team. He didn't deserve to be on the team. No, he did more than that. Okay. First of all, as far as Kevin Love being on the team, he feel he didn't deserve to be there. Well, we can say that about a lot of players. I mean, how many players, NBA players, have made it to the All-Star game who really truly wasn't deserving, based off of what they did in the past and not what they did that season? Again, same with the NFL. How many players in the NFL have made a Pro Bowl based off of name recognition and not exactly what they've done that season in both leagues, over people who are more deserving? Happens all the time. And as far as the Olympic basketball game go, there's no merit to that. They just pick players. You know, how many? You look at the Dream Team. I'm pretty sure there was another player in the Dream Team who could have been on the first one with Jordan and Magic and Bird. I'm pretty sure they could have been another player. Everybody was complaining about, well, Christian Laettner was on the team, but Shaq wasn't. So, it's a whole bunch of nonsense. But as long as Jalen Rose still has a job, still didn't receive no criticism, and the only criticism he received was from conservatives asking what's up with all the hypocrisy? Where's the outrage? So John Gruden should not have stepped down. He should have been fired, because you can't have it. You can't have it one way. So you got to have both ways. If you're going to be fired some people and force some people to step down, then you need to do it for everybody. Because if people were to be forced to step down because of what John Gruden said, I mean, if he was forced to step down, then I would have to say every single person on this planet would have to step down, because everybody said something derogatory about somebody else. Again, it's ridiculous, y'all. So like I said, this is why I believe that John Gruden should not have stepped down. He should have waited to be fired, and he should have talked to his players. And if I was him, I would have talked to my players. I would say, hey, I made derogatory statements, and any of my black players, hey, you have a problem with this? Well, then you he who is not sin cast the first stone. Have you talked about people? If you have never talked about anybody, then I can understand you being upset. But if you have never sinned, then you can come up here and you can cast the first stone, and obviously no stones would have been cast. But he shouldn't have stepped down, and he should not have never had a threat of violence. But anyway, y'all, like I said, it's my 2 cents on it, and it's a perfect example of the hypocrisy that exists in the Western world today. But anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.